Happy Wednesday, everybody. It's good to have you here at the Cabin Fever Podcast. It's Brent Bailey. It's about that time. We've got a great show planned for you today. How's your week going? You're at Hump Day. It's the middle of the week, and I hope that you're having a great day. It's it's all downhill from here. It's we're just about halfway done with the week, and I am excited about today's show. I've got the daughter of one of the most influential men in my life, Brian Clemmer, who passed away a number of years ago. But his daughter has picked up his seminar business and leadership training, and has really started to make an impact in the world of business leadership and really just general leadership. And so we're so glad to have Krystal with us today, and she's going to be coming on here in just a few minutes. Right now, I'm being joined by Jody, who is she's again in the director's chair by herself today. So, hi, babe.
Hi.
And so, man, we're really praying that Luke can get his car fixed so we can get him back to work. Get that boy back to work.
Yeah.
So, Luke, if you're watching or listening, and you better be, we miss you, and we really wish that you were here with us today. How are you doing? I know we had a sleepover
last night.
We had a sleepover
last night, yeah.
One of Peyton's friends.
His friends, they call each other their best friends.
Aww.
Little Daniel. And
he was so intrigued by the studio, too. He'd come in here
really
and
was,
he would look around. What are you doing here?
Yeah, he just was very curious.
So,
he was.
But we were able to actually get in bed a little earlier than we thought we would, and they did pretty good.
They did pretty good.
Yeah, they did pretty good.
We kind of let them stay up really late, which Daniel's not used to.
Yeah, Daniel's like a 9 o'clock bedtime.
He is.
Peyton stays up like Batman all hours of the night. But that was the first, I think that was Peyton's first sleepover.
Yeah, it was. And he's begging to sleep over.
Yeah, wanting to stay over there.
Daniel's.
Did you do that when you were growing up? You'd sleep over at your friend's house, and then they'd sleep over.
Yes.
I think the record that I have with me and my buddy Sean, he was my cousin, Sean Pennington, and we lost him a number of years ago. But I think the record for he and I was 8 straight days. His house, my house, his house, my house. Yes.
Yeah.
And finally, after the 8th day, I was like, I love you, but I am sick of you.
Right, exactly.
So
yeah, Preston, he has friends over, and he's spent the night at
pretty much every weekend.
Every
Connor's
weekend.
over here,
his friend, his bestie here. He spends the night every weekend. Goes to church with us.
Yeah, and so if you're parents and if you're watching, you're a parent. How do you do with your kids sleeping? That's a question that we can ask for today. Give us a story down there how you handle your kids' sleepovers.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Okay, some stuff going on in the world today. I know that big news for me. Now, 1989, I graduated from high school. I went on my senior trip to New York City, and it was just starting to become popular. This was not, comic books were huge, but not everybody was wearing a lot of the clothing and stuff like that. And I remember being there in New York City, and we went into a shop, and there was a hat. Black hat with the Batman symbol on the front, and I purchased it, and I was so excited. And all my friends and everybody that was just kind of looked at me like, "Why?" And I was like, "There's a movie coming out, right?" And so then, of course, that year, Batman came out with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson, and Jack Nicholson. Sorry, Nicholson's
right.
The golfer. Nicholson, and it was so awesome and so epic. And then, of course, he made a second Batman with Danny DeVito, but. There are talks going on right now. There's going to be a Flash movie that's coming out. That's got it's a famous comic book storyline called Flashpoint, where the Flash goes back and corrects everything that happened wrong in his life, and when he did, he changes the whole timetable. And so this movie that they're working on is based on that comic book story, and they are going to supposedly they're talking about bringing Michael Keaton back as an older, grittier, angrier version of Batman. Yeah. And he's going to be the same Batman he was in 1989.
It's kind of weird because, now I know it's not the same universe, but he played a bad guy in the Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, he was the Vulture.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I always liked Michael Keaton as Batman.
I think
really good.
Of all the movie Batmans, he's definitely one or two. I mean, everybody loves Christian Bale. His voice threw me, but I loved the movies. I thought Affleck was really good. And then, of course, I
Yes,
love
yeah.
Michael Keaton. So,
Yeah.
but I guess I can say this with some confidence that the cartoon Batman, Kevin Conroy, is the best. So.
Yeah.
So anyway, they're talking to him about coming back to do that, and that's going to be awesome, and we can't wait to see it. And now here's the other side of that. In the storyline, when Flash corrects everything, Bruce doesn't become Batman because Bruce's parents don't die, and actually Bruce dies. And so his dad, Thomas Wayne, becomes Batman, and they're talking to dun dun dun. Do you know? To play Thomas Wayne. He already played him in the Justice League movie, or the Batman vs. Superman movie. He played Bruce's dad.
Who is it?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Oh, yes.
They're going to get Jeffrey Dean Morgan to play Batman, because the dad becomes Batman. And so, anyway, they're in talks to do that too. So there'll be a lot of stuff to tie together. How does it work? I don't know. I have no idea, but it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, if you see a bat on... Get it? Batman.
Yeah, Negan.
Jeffrey Dean
Yep,
Morgan,
yep. The bat symbol will be Lucille.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. Well, real quick before we bring out Krystal as our guest today, I have been working on a book for a number of years, and I keep telling everybody that we're working on this big announcement, and finally, I got my copies in the mail today. So there is our new book. My new book is called "What Smells So Good: Living a Life of Favor," not flavor. Living a life of favor in a world that stinks. And the foreword was written by my brother-in-law, Brian, and my sister-in-law, Jenny. And this is it's a real easy read. It's about 100 pages. And it's all about, the favor of God on your life. And so if you'd like to get a copy of this, you can order it on Amazon. Just go in on Amazon and type "What Smells So Good." You can also get it on Kindle and Apple Books. So if you got an Apple iPad or a phone, you can go to Books or iBooks or whatever it's called and download it there. If you're into Kindles, you can download it from there, or you can order the paperback version off of Amazon. So I'm excited. It's going to be good. And Jody was really instrumental in helping me proofread it and proof it and correct it and not sound like a hayseed while we were doing it. So there it is. What Smells So Good? I think it's $10 on Amazon, $7.99 on Kindle and iBooks. So, all right. My guest today is somebody that we've had the pleasure of knowing for a number of years. Her father started Klimmer and Associates in San Francisco, and I liked him even though I didn't know anything about his ministry or his seminar business at first because he was a 49ers fan, and so am I. And so we were real excited to get to sit under. Of course, we would hear him at the Increase events, and his stuff was always so good. And then Bob invested in the whole staff, and I think Brian was part of that. He used all of the staff to do a private seminar for us, and we went through the personal mastery phase, and it was just so life-changing and so eye-opening that it really completely rocked our cores to who we were. And I always say there's three folks from a professional ministry level that have been most influential in my life. Is obviously the Hagins, Kenneth Hagin and Lynette and Brother Hagin and Senior, and then Bob, and then Brian Klimmer. Those three have probably molded and shaped me more as far as a leader and a businessman, associate, whatever, more than anything else. Now, I say all that to set it up for, we lost Brian a few years ago in a very tragic way. He had a heart attack and is no longer with us, but he had a 500-year business plan. And part of that plan was the future of what he was starting, and he turned it over to a young lady named Kim Zink, and she is also partnering up with Brian's daughter Krystal. And Krystal has become just the most awesome speaker in her own right. She has brought so much enlightenment to the Increase events. They're doing these seminars on a regular basis. Of course, COVID-19 has kind of thrown all that for a loop, but they have several levels that you can go through to be mentored and changed and have your eyes opened and really just have a real change in who you are. From Klimmer and Associates, I want to welcome Brian's daughter, Krystal Zellmer, to the program. Hi, Krystal.
Hi, Brent. Excited to be with you guys today.
Man, it's so good to have you. Wow, I mean, everything looks great there. You must have an incredible technical assistant there at your house.
I do. I think everybody is in the family business now,
Yeah.
right?
Right? Yeah, I'm talking about her husband, Adam, who's just an awesome guy and just an incredible man in his own right. And now you guys are in Chicago, right?
We are in Chicago.
In
Yeah, downtown.
Chicago. And so how was that, first, before we get into what we're going to talk about today, being a 49ers fan and then suddenly being thrust into the Bears den? Was that an adjustment for you, or did you just jump right in?
It's been an adjustment for me, much harder for my husband, who's a Packers fan. That seems to be even more of an opportunity.
Wow.
I slide under the radar with my Niners fandom because of his.
Yeah, you're kind of not in the division. I mean, oh my gosh, they're rivals. Holy moly.
Yes.
Wow. Well, so it really is so good to have you here. We've been trying to figure out a way to get all these folks that we know on, and you were in the short list of people we've been trying to figure out a time to have you on, and it just seemed to work out so perfect right now. With everything COVID and everything, it just threw everybody for a loop. First, before we get into what you're going to talk about, let me ask you this: I know your seminars that were postponed for a while. Where are you on that right now?
We're still in the middle of hosting some and canceling and postponing others. So this weekend we actually had 3 full rooms, and based on some conditions and announcements in California, we chose that was not honoring of authority to put on those classes this weekend. But we are going to be in Grand Junction, Colorado this weekend. We've got a full room going into a personal mastery, and the county and the government has deemed that is safe, and we're good to go following protocols, obviously. So we are off and running as of this weekend. Prayers appreciated starting Friday night. That's
so awesome. It's so good to hear. Now, personal mastery is the one that we went through with your dad with Bob, and you also have the Heart of the Samurai, right? There's the advanced, right?
Advanced leadership, yeah.
And then Heart of the Samurai.
And Heart of the Samurai, yes, sir. And then Samurai Camp after that as well. So we do personal mastery is all about revelation. Advanced leadership is all about breakthrough. Part of the Samurai is about purpose and significance. And Samurai Camp is about lifestyle and daily habits and really achieving goals.
Incredible. I know that I've got all of Brian's books, and they've all just been life-changing for me. I know when we sat through that, and I know you've heard me say it, that was such a life-changing weekend for us that just completely turned us upside down. So let's just get into it today. I know that we talked a little bit about what you were going to talk about today, and I know in the circles that I run in my audience, there's a lot of folks that have really started to hit the wall after COVID, having their lives uprooted and turned upside down and all kinds of things. And when I talk to them, it's almost like they're forgetting that the whole world is going through this as well. And so I know that you guys have a tremendous teaching called The Illusion of Separateness, and I'll just get out of your way now and let you explain that to us.
Absolutely. I was actually honored when you brought this to the forefront and asked me to do this specific piece, because I believe it's so relevant in terms of what our planet is currently experiencing. So generally, I start out this piece. I am an experiential trainer. That's what I do. I love to be in live seminar rooms. So I'm going to ask a lot of questions. And for you, Brent and Jody, and everybody listening and tuning in, my request is be in discovery for yourself. So be asking these questions for you, be in it. I may even ask you to pull out a pen and a piece of paper at some point just to give you a heads up.
All right, I'm going to start looking.
So, up front, my first question is, have you ever felt judged? On this call, has anybody ever felt judged? Have you ever felt like somebody was choosing what you were capable on based on the way you walk, the way you talk, your skin color, your economic status, something about you? People were judging you and what you were capable of before they even knew you. And in reverse, have you ever felt like you've judged somebody else? And we're all human. Judgment is part of our experience. And I would say that everybody on the call has judged somebody else prior to knowing them well on all sorts of different things. And I think on our planet today, if you're on social media, you're on this podcast, you've probably experienced a lot of judgment flying around in our world right now, both internally for people as well as being pretty vocal about judgment. So today what I want to look at is, what about the possibility if judgment didn't exist? What would our world really look like if judgment didn't exist? And I have this illustration that I want to jump into. I don't know if you knew this about me or not, Brent, but I'm quite the artiste. And usually I'm old school. I have a flip chart. I love a flip chart. But given this platform, I figured this would be a good way for you to get to view my art.
Yeah. When I was downloading them, I was texting you saying how awesome and incredible these are. So I'm excited. Let's go. Yeah.
Yes, trained by the best of the best. My mentor, Diane Weintraub, and my dad trained her. So we got a lineage of artists in our company. This, obviously, we've got the sun, birds, water, and an island. This island happens to be the island of Maui. In this analogy, we're going to be talking about the island of Maui.
All right. So
there's a lot of.
Can we turn it into Maui real quick? Let's see. Can we snap that into existence?
Snap it straight in. And actually, the last time I got to be
there it is. All right.
Yeah, on Maui. And I'm sure you recognize a lot of this stuff.
I think I've eaten right there, right? I've eaten there. with you and Adam. I think I've eaten right there. So
yeah, in March, right before COVID. So on Maui, there's a lot happening on Maui. There's palm trees, there's pineapples, there's flowers. I think I have a surfboard and a surfer on there, the 7 pools, as well as the road to Hana. I don't know how to draw a dormant volcano, so I drew an active one. And hotels, there's all sorts of different stuff happening on the island of Maui. It would be really easy to see that anytime you were there. There's lots happening on Maui. There's another island very close to Maui that not a lot of people know about. And again, I think we can poof, right?
Wow, that was awesome.
So this second island is an island. It's a long island off the coast of Maui, and it is actually very barren and desolate. It used to be used as a bombing range. It's called Ko'olave. Generally, I have a Hawaiian in my room who can help me with pronunciation, but I believe it's Ko'olave. And that island, you won't find anything on that island. So what I want you to picture is that you're in this Hawaiian ocean and you're actually on a sailboat with somebody you love. And here comes our sailboat. Wow. And you're sailing between those 2 islands. And as you're sailing between those 2 islands, what do you begin to notice? And most people, as we start to reflect, Brent, you might notice, Maui's full of life.
Yeah.
It's got all sorts of stuff going on. It's got palm trees. Ko'olave has none. It has surfers and surfboards, and Ko'olave has none. It has flowers and vegetation, and Ko'olave is none. So now I want you to picture you're out there, and really what you're noticing at this level is you're noticing the difference between the 2 islands. You're noticing all the differences between the 2 islands. And what I want you to picture is, let's say somebody came in and pulled the plug. They already did it for me, and it's perfect. I'm going to lead right into there. For those of you who are analytical on the line, bear with me. Somebody pulls the plug out of the ocean, and water drains out at a rapid pace. Water's draining out. And while you drop, the water level drops, your boat drops, and you begin to look at the 2 islands from a different perspective. And now I want you to picture yourself, you're still on the boat looking at the 2 islands, and you would begin to notice that those 2 islands begin to look a lot more similar than you originally believed. They look a lot more similar when the water level has dropped than you originally saw. You see coral reef on both sides. You see vegetation on both sides. It begins to look a lot more similar. And then this last image is about somebody pulled the plug again, and all the water drains out of the ocean. Again, if you're analytical, bear with me, don't know where it goes. And the water drains all the way out of the ocean, no water left. And you find your boat sitting on the ocean floor. Yeah. And at that point, what you would notice is that the two islands are actually not two islands at all. They're connected and they're one. And as you look from that place, what we call this at Clemmer seminars is we call this the illusion of separateness versus the reality of oneness. The illusion of separateness versus the reality of oneness. We're different. I mean, I can look at Brent and say, I'm a woman, you're a man. I've got long hair, you've got short hair. You live in Florida, I live in Chicago, you're in ministry, I'm in seminars. We could go into all of these differences. And I believe as human beings, that's what we do often. We're on the top of that surface water level, and we're looking at how you're different than me. But that's actually not what I want to spend a lot of time on today, because I think as human beings, we're pretty good at that. Yeah. We're pretty good at recognizing the differences between us as people. But really, what I want you to begin to realize is that we are a lot more similar than we give ourselves credit for. Just under that waterline, we have a lot more similarities than we give ourselves credit for. Yeah. So here's where the pen and paper comes in handy. If you just take, not if you're driving, please do not take pen and paper. If you're tuning in where you have the opportunity, or just take a mental note, who's 3 to 5 people that you feel connected with? They're people that get you. They're people that understand you. You get each other. It can be in your friends. It can be in your family. It could be the person at the grocery store. You don't even know their name, but you feel connected to that person. And as you write down those names, begin to recognize the commonalities between those people and you. And I want you to ask yourself this question. This is the critical question for this piece in my experience. What's the criteria you use to feel connected to another human being? Based on that list, what's the criteria you use to be connected to another human being? And it could be honestly anything. It could be that you're of the same gender. It could be that you're of the same religion. It could be that you both are married or single. It could be that you live in the same area. You're in the same family. I don't know what it is for you, but you want to begin to notice what's the criteria you use to feel connected to another human being. And now we're going to take that on the flip side. Who are 3 to 5 people? You can write their names down if you wish. Take a mental note. I'm into experiential learning, so I'm always going to ask you to take that next step. Who are 3 to 5 people you don't feel connected to? And I'm not saying you hate them. I'm not even saying you don't like them or angry at them. I'm just saying 3 to 5 people that you just don't jive with. They're not somebody that if you had time to pick up the phone, you would call. They're not somebody you would choose to be in their space on a regular basis. You just don't feel connected to them. And then you get to ask yourself the same question. What's the criteria that you use to feel disconnected from another person? What's the criteria you use to feel disconnected from another person? So knowing that, it could be anything, and I'm going to ask you to even drop the judgment on yourself as we have this conversation, because you just want to be honest with you. What is it that somebody walks different than you, talks different than you, maybe doesn't have the same religious belief as you, maybe isn't the same political view as you, maybe you don't like the way they speak on social media, or you don't like the type of pictures they post, or they just rub you the wrong way. But you want to notice for you, what's the criteria that you use to feel disconnected to another person? And as you begin to kind of take those things into consideration, I want you to imagine, and I'll use Brent as the example because Brent's here with me. What if Brent and I are now connected by this indestructible, invisible umbilical cord, and he and I are tied by 3 feet? Now, that means it's indestructible. Anywhere he goes, I go. Anything he wants to go eat, I get to go eat. Any career decision he makes, I would get to go with him. Anything, we're tied by this indestructible cord. Now, if that were the case, now in this case, I like Brent. I think he's a good guy. I grew up around Brent. He's hilarious. He's intelligent. That might not be such an issue for us. We might be able to make it work, no matter how many disagreements we had. Now I want you to imagine that you are tied to somebody that you don't necessarily get along with well. Maybe it's that person that you work with that you wouldn't want to give accolades to. Maybe it's that person that makes the hair on the back of your neck kind of stick up. Maybe it's the person that every time they show up in your social media feed, you're going, not again. Yeah. And I want you to imagine yourself tied to that person. Could you make it work? Could you make it work? Could you go you're connected. Could you make it work in the long run? Could you choose to understand their point of view? Could you choose to choose into what they're doing? Would you communicate with them differently if you knew you were connected, period? And I'm gonna suggest here on this podcast that that's the case. That we actually are one, that we're connected, my belief system, we're all made in the image of God. We're all connected in this human experience together. And that we are in fact one island. And if we believe that, then when I take from one island, in reality, who am I taking from?
So good.
Both islands. And when I give to one island, who am I actually giving to?
So good.
I'm giving to both islands. So if we chose to internalize that in a deep way, if you chose to sit in front of a person and actually look them in the eyes and ask yourself, this person is a person just like me. This person has hopes and dreams just like me. This person has fears and concerns and doubts just like me. Even if I'm sitting in front of somebody that I don't agree with, could I make it work? Could I choose to be empathetic and giving and caring and knowing that really if we all are connected, if we all are one, I choose to believe that. Then how would I show up different in my world in order to impact humanity in a different way? And in this particular season, that's why I was so excited when you asked about this piece, because what if we began to look at different cultures who are...
I was just getting ready to ask you that.
Get along. Yeah, and that this is really the piece. If we were willing to come from a place of, I might not agree with you, but can I honor your choices?
Come on.
And be solution oriented with you? Can I choose to believe that I'm on the same team as you at the end of the day? Can I choose that, Israelis, Palestinians, who cares? Color, who cares? At the end of the day, we are one, we are connected. What I do matters to your human experience. What you do matters to my human experience. And if we can come together in that space, maybe we can find some solutions. Maybe we can find some empathy where we were lacking.
Yeah.
So that's our two islands piece that I wanted to bring to you today.
It's so good, Krystal. And so the thing that is I think the most important is I've seen so many people separating themselves out, almost by choice. Like I'm choosing to be an island.
Yeah.
But this in this day and time right now with all the racial injustice that's going on right now, the uprising, and you're living in a city that is in the headlines over the weekend. This world can become a better place, can it? If we would start to adopt this kind of philosophy.
I believe it can. I look at, and specifically I think some of what we're talking about is murder in my city, a 3-year-old little girl.
Yeah.
So what if I look at that from a perspective of her neighborhood's my neighborhood?
Come on now. That's so good.
I lost like her parents lost.
Yeah.
If I can choose into, instead of going, oh, praise God, my baby is okay. What if I looked at it from, my baby's not okay because she's hurting and I hurt. Florida to Chicago.
Yeah.
It's the same conversation.
Yeah. 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 I know that, and every time you flip on the news right now, you're just seeing so much of division and so much, and people are describing it in ways that they're justified. I'm justified by acting this way. And I hurt no matter who's saying it. I feel it for everybody because I think along these lines, like I say, your dad influenced me so much that it was in such a way that we are not out here by ourselves and expected to go through all this with no commonality whatsoever. And so, man, our guest is Krystal Zellmer, and you can tell she's got a lot loaded up there to explode on you. Krystal, as we start to wrap this up, let me just ask you this. When folks are starting to put the pieces together here and understand, I'm not going through this by myself. We're really not that different. We're really not as big a difference as I was led to believe. What are some steps they can start taking right now to rebuild that, I guess, or to maybe even create that into their own lives?
Goodness, so much. I'm like, where would I
you don't have to give us all. You don't have to give them all because we want people to come to your seminars. But what is, just as somebody who's presented this, I know thousands of times, what would you suggest somebody do to start understanding?
To start the understanding, I would really sit down and look at the people in my life that I have the most judgment on and find out how I could see the world from their perspective. I don't need to agree, but how do I
say that again? Say that again, because so many people think that in order to do that, I got to agree with them.
We could get into a whole seminar there, and confirmation bias and the need to fight. Mm-hmm. Like, just because I don't agree with you, now I need to jump in the ring and prove that you're wrong so that I don't feel wrong, which in and of itself, like, I can wholly and completely accept where you're coming from without agreeing where you're coming from. And if I can begin to come from a place of empathy as to how you feel, we can come into a solution together.
So good.
But as long as I believe in order for me to be right, you must be wrong, we can't see each other as one. We're not, because we're on the surface trying to prove that we're different.
Yeah. You're an island. I'm an island. We're just lobbing fireworks back and forth at each other.
Yep. And that's the feeling of, I don't care if you go bomb Olave.
Yeah.
Because I'm okay over here, which we know in reality, they're going to pay prices, maybe unseen, but their prices are being paid.
Yeah. Yep.
So how do we come from this place of, and I'm not saying it's easy, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I have been in more reflection, revelation with less of a need to talk in the last month than ever probably in my whole life. You can tell I love to talk. And how do I take a posture of learning? I don't need to agree, but I can learn. And from that place, I can probably find more empathy, grace, compassion, solution than from any other position.
So good. I know I could just pull a little bit on that thread and you would spill on for hours. I can see it. It is, and I want to jump in here with you and just agree with everything you're saying. Krystal, this is so powerful and so good. If somebody wanted to experience this because this is hours and hours of, for what, 2 days, 3 days? What is it now?
It's 3 days. Yeah. It's 2.5 days. We do a Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday.
And if somebody wanted to experience this so they could get the full measure of it, they can go to Clemmer. I think we're going to put your information up on the screen. It's Clemmer.com.
Yep.
You can reach out through Facebook and Instagram at Clemmer Seminars and on Twitter at Team Clemmer. And I'm telling you, folks, when you go through one of these personal mastery seminars, now I have yet to do the advanced, now that I'm not even going to get into this because now I know intention and mechanism and all that stuff. So, but I haven't done advanced and Heart of Samurai yet, and that doesn't mean I'm not going to. I just haven't done it yet, and I'm not even going to make an excuse. But I will say this: the personal mastery one completely, it just wrecked me and Jody and everybody that was sitting in there that day, those 2 days. So if you want to get involved in this and learn more, I'm telling you, this is such a relevant seminar with where we are in the world today, with so much rebuilding that's happening. I know, and I don't want to get overly spiritual on you here, but I know at the beginning of the year for me, the Lord spoke that there was going to be a lot of healing and restoration in this year, and I've just turned on the news and go, how God, how? And I really honestly believe it's the entrance of this kind of information, more of the Word of God, that's going to really, and people are turning and looking for answers. And so I'm so grateful that you were able to come on and just share a little bit with us today.
Me too. I'm grateful and honored you asked, and anything that we can do to make a difference, reach out. We're here to be of service. So I truly mean that. You'll get tastes of what we do online, and we're an experiential company. So it doesn't have to be an either or.
Yeah. And so when you talk to Kimberly, tell her that, her day's coming. I'm going to be calling her to have her on too. That's Krystal's partner.
I already gave her a heads up. Yeah.
So I am so grateful that you came on today. I'm so thankful for you and what you're doing and what your dad imparted into my life. I know you probably hear it from all kinds of people that talk about him, but man, he was just awesome and was such a strong influence in my life. So thank you for coming on and sharing that with us today. And once again, if you want to reach out to Krystal, you can do that at Clemmer.com, or you can go to Facebook and Instagram at Clemmer Seminars, or on Twitter at Team Clemmer. Please reach out to them. Their information is going to rock you. And we're going to have to get you into Florida and have a seminar down here. Is she there? Are you there? Yeah, I said we're gonna have to get you to Florida, and you guys got to do one down here. You got to do a seminar.
I'm in.
All right, deal.
I'm in.
All right.
Deal. I got all the music, so I feel like it's a dance party over here.
Oh, there is. Oh, okay. Jody accidentally did. Yeah, that's okay. Our director's not here today, so he might be fired. He might be fired after today. So
there's no better way to dance it out.
Well, Krystal, thanks again for coming on the show. Have a great rest of your day. Tell Adam hey again for us, and everybody else, give him our love, and we love and appreciate you so much.
Will do. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you for having me on. Take care. God bless.
All right. That's Krystal Zellmer, everybody, of Clemmer and Associates, Clemmer.com. The information, wow. I mean, I just sitting there listening to her talk, and I'm just remembering going through the seminar, and she was doing a great job of keeping that compacted down to just a few minutes here. There's so much more that's involved in that that we would highly encourage you to go through and to have something like that. All right, so if you'd like to reach out, there it is again, Clemmer.com, Clemmer Seminars on Facebook and Instagram, and Team Clemmer on Twitter. All right, as we go to wrap up the show today, on Friday, I've got my good friend Dan Taylor, who's the worship pastor at Rhema Bible Church. He's going to be with us, and he and I are going to be talking about some of the things that's going on in our country today. Dan's an African-American gentleman and from Cincinnati. We had lots in common, and our relationship did so many great things when we were working together, and race had zero to do with it. And so we're going to be having some conversations about how to develop those kind of things. And so you'll want to be here. He's got a lot of great stuff that he said on one of his posts, and he's going to be bringing that stuff back out on Friday. So be here for that if you can, if you have the time. If not, you can relive on one of the podcast replays. Don't forget, you can stop out by Amazon, pick up a copy of our brand new book. We'd love it if you could get your hands on this for us. It's called What Smells So Good? Living with Favor in a World That Stinks. It's a very easy read. I tell a lot of stories in here. If you'd like to get a copy of it, you can go to Amazon and grab a copy, or you can get one on the Kindle platform and the Apple iBooks platform. We love you guys so much. We'll see you on the next Cabin Fever podcast. For Jody, for Luke, this is Brent Bailey. Get outside and break the cabin fever. Have a great day, everybody.